We got Frank Ricotta, CEO of BurstIQ, and Ed Kim, who's been behind the camera. This is the first time you're going to see him in front of it. Hey, guys.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Frank Ricotta. Ed Kim.
Hi, Matt.
Ed, you know what? Great job today. You took down about a dozen feature one-on-one interviews today. I followed your work. It was pretty terrific.
It's easy to talk to people who are really passionate about what they're doing, and that's what today was, start to finish.
Now, do you have a chance to sit down with Frank?
I did. Frank and I have known each other now for a couple of years over the phone. It was great to meet him now in person, and it's tremendous to see the progress that he's been making with BurstIQ.
Yeah, I would say Ed was one of the first ones to see some of the value in what we were doing. You know, when we were still kind of molding the concept. So it's been a good journey interacting.
Well, it's been a great journey. In fact, today, so you were on 3-4 panels today?
Three today, yeah. It was a busy day.
What's the big takeaway?
Well, you know, if you kind of benchmark from last year, I think you're seeing a lot of things move into the zone of practicality, really real adoption now, not just talking about it. So there's been a lot of discussion over the last 2 or 3 years about what blockchain could do within the health sector and what innovations it could help usher in. What you're now starting to see is real adoption around the peripheral and even with some really core solutions.
So, you know, I noticed something on one of your panels. It was something that you and I have actually talked about in the past, which is, I think, the adoption side of things. It's the sex appeal. It's the novelty starting to wear off on the front end of it. And it's really starting to focus on the back end infrastructure. If it can't fit in the stack, you're certainly not going to get it to the front of it.
Yeah. Well, I agree. You know, it's not unlike the internet adoption cycle, where you had some of the surrounding protocols had to really be developed to make it usable and to work and really push broad scale adoption. You know, the web just didn't automatically emerge, and that's where I think you see things happening now. It's really kind of rounding off the rough edges and hiding some of the hard technical sides of blockchain and making it very usable.
You had a comment, and I want to say that you said something to the effect of, I see a handful of infrastructure players laying the foundation with a whole bunch of front-end applications, much like an iPhone iOS system and all the apps that are built on top of it. Is that, from an analogy standpoint, are we?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Who owns, I mean, this is kind of a geek analogy, but who owns HTTP? You know, really kind of the technology behind a browser. Nobody owns it. It's just a protocol stack. But there was once upon a time where a handful of companies really advocated it and really drove adoption. So that's what I think you're going to see with blockchain. There'll be some infrastructure providers and network providers, but the protocols will become ambiguous and really be buried in a lot of applications.
Now, Ed Kim, back during HTTPs, during that era, Ed was at NASDAQ. So, and you've covered a lot of technology over your time, and you've got a good understanding both in the fintech and everything else. What's your take on that?
I think the encompassing nature of blockchain, what we saw today especially, I spoke, for example, with an economist. In the early days of the internet, you didn't speak to any economists. And so perhaps we've learned our lesson, that from the very, very beginning, it's important to understand how incentives work, how the different silos need to be connected, rather than to see these things try to optimize independently and then at a later stage come together. They're actually thinking about how do we interweave these things today, and I think that's going to be the key to success.
Well, that's an awesome perception, because what we're really talking about is, particularly as it extends to health, it's a different variation of this whole capturing value. You know, in the financial side and cryptocurrency, it's like the difference between capital and currency, capital being a hard asset, currency being a transaction. And now we're starting to see it apply to people understanding that, okay, data about you is very valuable. Now how do we capture that in a transactional way and an economic way that produces shared incentives? And I think that's just an absolutely astute comment and very important.
You know, I think there's going to be a time where people start looking at their data much like they look at any sort of money market account. Your data is making you money while you work, and your day-to-day vitals and your day-to-day genomics and your day-to-day data, who you are, will be as much as an investment as your 401k. It sounds like.
Well, we're all in it together, and I see that transpiring. It's not just your health data; it's about everything you're doing. It's already valuable. You came from the ad tech space, right? And so you were monetized.
Long time ago.
Yeah. But you know the monetary value of capturing data about a person to really kind of move a business model forward, and it's going to be the same thing. It's just at a hyper level for the next round.
Well, we got Ed. Let me ask you this. So we got Libra that's just been announced, and there is some talk in insiders. Is Libra a conflict? Is Libra a conflict mechanism, not to create a cryptocurrency, but to actually share in the monetization of the data so they can get around any regulatory laws? And it's a really interesting concept when you think about they could lose the cryptocurrency argument, but win the shared monetization argument because people are getting compensated by use of their data and they don't have to change their model.
A cynic might say that Facebook planned this from the very beginning for it to fail the cryptocurrency test because it's not a cryptocurrency. If you stack up just Bitcoin, for example, the one that is commonly known, if you stack up Bitcoin against Libra, those are two very, very different constructs, starting just with the basis of decentralization versus centralization. Libra is a Facebook tool. It is the thing that I would do if I were Mark Zuckerberg. So I tend to believe that this is where Facebook wanted to get to all along.
So if I get 2 Libra in exchange for my genomics test or my ancestry test, that's compensation.
That is compensation. I don't see how that isn't compensation.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's an interesting premise. I think the cryptocurrency side of life has a low probability of succeeding on any time in the near term, but an internal transaction and compensation method, absolutely. In fact, kind of a cross payment solution in some aspect, absolutely. And how could you deny the fact in terms of the number of users? And there's many parts of the world where the internet is the Facebook portal. It's not Google. It's not just a general browser. It's Facebook. And so we may not see it here. I don't think we'll see it here first, but we're gonna see it emerge in a whole lot of parts of the world.
I don't want to take us down to a completely different realm, but I from a Facebook standpoint, I see two outcomes. I see a subscription model, and I see the Libra rev share model. I think that's ultimately where they're going to go. It's the only way they're going to stay out of regulatory issues, but it's going to bring crypto and digital assets. It's going to help lift the whole ecosystem, I believe, on some level.
I think it'll increase the visibility, and I think it's important to have the discussion of what Libra really is and who really stands to benefit. Right, you've got 1 billion people on the planet, at least, who do not have a bank account, but have a cell phone. All right, so that's 1 billion people who stand to benefit, legitimately benefit from a way to transact in a secure fashion. So I can't criticize Zuckerberg for that, but he's going to face, and he already has faced, severe resistance in the United States. Not the least of which is all the issues around data privacy and Facebook's ability to manage that privacy. So as Frank said, I do think that Libra's first success will be outside the U.S., and that's where the market is. That's where many of those 1 billion people are without bank accounts.
It's where you see most of the user adoption on the digital side. Frank, hitting you core, is it fear that's going to slow it down here? Fear and opportunity, lack of opportunity of those that didn't come up with it? Like, why? It sounds like a fair trade-off. Why is this going to be slow to adopt?
As it relates to Libra? Yeah. Well, I think in many of the Western countries, you have an established regulatory framework and banking system. So, many on that side of life view it as somewhat of a threat, and that was their initial reaction. Just like they did with general cryptocurrencies a couple of years ago. And we were just at OECD, and the French financial minister stood up and said, "Hey, Libra's not going to be transacted on French soil." And that made headline news everywhere. But then in that same speech, he was talking about the power of blockchain to deal with anti-money laundering and international settlements and a whole list of things that could be inherent in a Libra framework where they were just, because of the association, in my opinion, with Facebook, could push back on it pretty hard.
Well, let's switch this up. We're running out of time here. Let's do a 12-month forecast. Where do we see blockchain in healthcare 12 months from now?
I think we're going to continue to see more constituencies get involved. You go back a year or two ago, and it was just these small upstarts who are self-funded in many cases, trying to advance the technology. But now you're going to see more buy-in from academia. You're going to see more buy-in from corporate America at the Fortune 500 level, because they're the ones who are going to drive adoption. And you're going to see more buy-in at the government level. I think very importantly from the state level, but also from the federal level. I mean, it may have to wait until this election comes and goes, but I think you're going to see continued government interest in this as a matter of course, because they're going to have to appeal to their constituents, particularly, and that's why I think healthcare, what you're doing, Frank, is so critical, because I think the constituents are going to drive this. They're going to more and more realize the value of their data, and they're going to tell their congressman, you know, this is something that we want you, Mr. Congressman, to be interested in.
It's an interesting point, because the governmental level, they're raising all the issues, and without a solution, then it just becomes it's a hamster wheel. And it's guys like this that they're going to create those solutions. 12 months from now, Frank, you're knee deep in this. In fact, you're the center of the ecosystem here, at least in the U.S. in digital health and blockchain. Where do you see the industry in 12 months from your vantage point?
Well, I see really solid adoption at the B2B level. So I think we got a little ways to go from a consumer adoption perspective, although there are really some cool apps emerging, but you still need some of the back-end infrastructure to be working right and the data exchange. And I think from the CMS, from the government perspective, they love this technology from the standpoint of interoperability. So you're going to see them start to really push and advocate for it. And you're going to see a broader adoption on the B2B side of life this time next year.
Well, we're already seeing you pull some of that stuff off right now in 2019. All right, everybody. CEO BurstIQ, the editor-in-chief of Equities. I'm Matt Bird. We're here at the ConV2X conference 2018 here in Boston, Massachusetts. Guys, thanks so much. It was great
Matt.
to see you both.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
I hope to see you at the reception afterwards.
Thanks.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
We'll see you.
See you later. I'll see you for a drink. We'll be right back after this. We have our next guest. Don't go away.
The 2019 Converge to Accelerate conference is brought to you by IEEE, the world's largest technical professional organization for the advancement of technology. Boehringer Ingelheim, passionately working to improve healthcare. NASCO, advancing digital health together. IPSI US, the Association of Independent Workers, for one, for all. Partners in Digital Health, publishers of the forward-reaching blockchain in Healthcare Today and Telehealth and Medicine Today. Special consideration to iWorker Innovations, taking the independent workforce to new heights. Connected Health Conference, designing for healthy habits and better outcomes. Haven Health Solutions, providing true blockchain transactional interoperability. Special thanks to Seaport World Trade Center for hosting us. And a special thanks to 1-800 Public Relations for all your PR and media support. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.